Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. I suppose the question is, why use ProForecast? Particularly when the economic environment is little uncertain as it is at the moment, forecasting is valuable to business so that they can make informed business decisions. For salespeople, forecasted sales numbers can influence how sales function is managed. For marketeers can use forecast to gauge the effectiveness of campaigns and deciding target markets. Senior managers and finance teams can utilize forecasts to prepare and evaluate financial plans, capitalize on production, monitor cash flow, plan logistics, how to allocate resources, along with a host of other decisions. ProForecast takes the data that already exists in Sage 200 to create multiple forecasts, perform scenario and what-if analysis, and import actual data from Sage 200 to compare against your forecasts. And finally, the data can be viewed with standard or custom dashboards and reports. This is all work that you might currently be doing in Excel, and this work can be manual, tedious, time-consuming, and worst of all, error-prone. Once configured, ProForecast will give you on-demand forecasts that you can share with relevant colleagues. So what we'll be looking at today? So today we're going to take a look at the basic setup. We're going to take a look at integration with Sage 200, ProForecast data entry, and we'll look at the analysis, reporting, and dashboards. So in relation to setup, the first screen we're looking at here is our home page as such, and this is where we can set up our basic plan elements. So the start date, the number of periods we're forecasting over, color schemes. We've also got information in relation to currency and reporting configuration in relation to currencies and our exchange rates. The next thing we have across the top are the revenue models. And these are the different types of income that are generated within the organization. So maybe your revenue streams. So I have this set up today for product and services and professional services. Now, there are other pre-configured revenue models, or you can set up a sundry sales one, which is like an ad hoc sales one that doesn't fit in anywhere else. And you can create other revenue models also. We can look at the marketing split. So this is the predicted breakdown in revenue between the different revenue models. We've got our company structure, which is similar to your cost centers and departments. So we have our functional departments, and we have divisions, which could be locations within your organization. Excuse me. We've got some VAT set up here as well. And what we also have is import. Now, if we go into the import, there are, the first thing we do is decide which type of import, and we're going to choose Sage 200 Professional. Now, I've already logged in, and so once you've logged in, it'll retain the login settings. So basically, when you log in, you're logging directly into your Sage 200 database. You choose the company you want to log into, and then it knows to source the data for the forecast directly from that company within Sage 200. You can choose one which would probably primarily be at setup, which is your account setup. And you can choose to import your actuals. So if I go to my actuals, I can choose the year I'm importing into, and then I also can choose the period. So with ProForecast, you can import as many times as you like. But again, forecasting and the nature of forecasting is that it's a pretty periodic thing that you would do, maybe weekly or monthly mostly, and maybe weekly. But you can do it as often as you like. So if I go next, the next step will be to map our Sage 200 codes on the left to the ProForecast codes on the right. Now, when we're setting this up in a live environment, we'd normally have the ProForecast fields and the Sage 200 fields quite similar, so that when we do the import, ProForecast will attempt to match the two sets of fields together. So once we have done that, we can lock our data, and that effectively imports the data into the system for you. Again, that takes a couple of minutes, so I'm not going to go through that process just now. So that's importing the data, and as I say, once you do the initial mapping, there's very little work to be performed on a periodic basis, because it retains the existing mappings. Now, in relation to creating our forecast data, if I go into data entries and I go to revenue models, and again, this mostly is a once-off setup, and then you can amend the data as you see fit. Depending on your revenue models will determine a little what options we have available within it. So if we go to professional services, we have information like seasonality. So if your business is quite seasonal, then you can choose to break down your data based on percentages throughout the season. So if you had a lot of business around Christmas, then you could increase the percentage breakdown here. If we go to debtors, so this is more to do with your cash flow. So when will we receive the money from invoices? So we might predict to receive 50% in the first month, 30% in the second month, and so on and so forth. And then we can look at our cost of sales. So cost of sales may be a percentage of our income. So you can put in what your percentage is here. And then we can look at fee earners. So individuals that generate income. So we can go in here, we can edit one, and we can decide what the hourly charge out rate is, available hours in a year, and what the chargeable hours of those available hours are. So that is setting up our professional services. That takes me on to products and services. And now, if I go to my product setup, NetSuite will automatically take in all your products from directly, or sorry, say ProForecast will take in all your products from Sage 200. So if we go in, we can see a list of the products that we have in the system. So this is going to take in the selling price and cost price to help us to calculate our margins. And if I'm forecast our margins, I can go into an individual item and edit it. And I might, for forecasting purposes, it doesn't write back to Sage 200, but I might, for forecasting purposes, decide that I want to see the effects of increasing the price to a certain amount. And this again is purely forecasting, so it's not writing back into your into Sage 200. So you can do items like that, and then we can go into our product and services targets. So this is quite similar to what we've seen before. In the professional services, we can introduce seasonality in here. So it comes as standard, broken evenly over all the periods, but we can go in and change the percentage up or down. We can go look at lead times and deposits, factoring. We've got our debtors again, so that would be replicating your debtors days, I suppose. And then we've got our product sales volume targets. So we can go in here, we go into our product group, and we've got the products within that product group. So we can predict or forecast what we're going to sell of each individual product if we like. So we could say that we're going to sell 200 of this, we're going to sell 500 of this, or 5,000 if we wanted to. So we can go in and put in what our predicted sales are going to be, and then that will be reflected in our forecasts and forecasted cash flow. Other items within our setup are the likes of loans and interest rates. So it's quite good in that it brings in all elements. So you may have business loans or mortgages or whatever, and then these can be, the rates for these can be set up. So if I go into interest rates here, we can set up what the predicted general interest rates are going to be for the period, and this is something that can be changed. We can go into bank loans, and these are the bank loans we have set up within the system. We can go into each element, and we have a thing called step change. So it's like a mini what if you like, for this particular element. So we can go into that, and we can look at the interest rate, and we can look at the effect of maybe changing the interest rate. So for example, if your bank decided to reduce the interest rates for COVID reasons or whatever, we could go into various periods, reduce the rates of interest, and then that will be reflected for those months within your forecasts. We've got other information along the top here about loans and mortgages and asset finance as well. We can set exchange rates within the system. So we can set the exchange rates for a period or change the exchange rates if we like. If we look at fixed assets, we can do and maybe look at fixed assets additions. We could, for example, set up, that maybe we're going to buy an asset in a particular period, and then that would be reflected in your forecast also. So what if we buy a motor vehicle in May? What will be the effect on our balance sheet, and what would be the effect on our cash flow? Then that takes us to overheads. If I go into the central overheads, we can set up annual amortization across the top here, or we can go in to particular headings that we've set up and enter what the annual rate is going to be. If I pick an existing one here, I go into consultancy, we can put in the base cost. We can say that it's annually amortized, and we can say it's going to be paid within 1 month. So then we can see the effects of that on our forecasts. If I go to my what if analysis, so the what if analysis is effectively a global what if. So this is how you would create an additional forecast with a major prediction on it. So if I go to what if, things that we would change here, and typical things are, what if our gross margin is to increase? What if our sales is to decrease for some reason by 20% and increase by 5%? So what we can do is we can save these scenarios as alternate forecasts and use these forecasts for doing our variance analysis and making our predictions. So one of the nice things about ProForecast is you can have multiple forecasts, as many forecasts as you like within the system. So after you've done all your setup and created your setup and imported your data from Sage 200, we then have the ability to go in and report upon that information. So if I go to reports and dashboards, and I choose the forecast that I want to report upon, we have a range of reports across the top. So the first one we'll take a look at is the summary report. Now, typically, I should point out here, typically these reports, because again, we're going up to the internet and dragging information down or whatever, but typically these reports should take 10, 20 seconds to generate. This is a demo system held on not a production server, so it will take a little longer for the reports to generate. But this summary report here is giving us just a brief summary of the business as a whole. So we've got our revenues for the 3 years of the forecast. We've got a summary of our EBITDA, and we've got a summary of our operating cash flow for the 3 periods in question. We can take a look at our income statement. So what we're going to get here is we're going to get an income statement with the 12 months across the top for 2018. This is just going to take a few seconds to generate for us. And the nice thing about the reports as well is we can get summarized views, and then we can drill down into those summary views to see the data that makes them up. So we've got our professional services here, and I could drill down into that to see what makes it up. We can go to any of the values by clicking this value here. It'll give me a graphical representation over the 3-year period of how our sales are going to increase or decrease. And we can do that for all the items within the income statement. Other items we have on this are, if I go over to the right hand side, we've got the ability to export this to Excel, PDF or CSV. So if we export the Excel, it'll go out into Excel in the format that you see it on the screen with little or no reformatting required. We have the ability to filter here, so we can filter by the period that we want to look at. We have the ability to do additional formatting, so we can do large number formatting, show the number formatting, and then we also have the ability here to report either on forecasts we have here, or we can actually choose to report on our actuals, which is a nice feature. We can report on those separately as well within our income statement, so we can effectively produce our management accounts from here. So the next one we'll take a look at is the cash flow. So the cash flow will give us a similar layout. So we'll see the 12 months across the top. Then we'll see what our expected net bank balance will be by period based on the predictions we have entered into the forecast. We have other reports as well, like a source and application, so the differences in assets and liabilities. We've got the ability to break these reports down by the various departments and the various other areas. We can look at just our central overheads if we wanted to as well. If I go back to my reports and I go to the variance reports, I choose my forecast again, and you can see I can choose any of the forecasts to report upon, choose the scenario, and what we'll look at, we'll just have a look at our central or our income statement. So what we'll get here is, again, the 12-month breakdown of our sales and costs, and we will have a variance. So we'll have our actual, budget and variance. Now, another nice feature of it is we can toggle between showing the variance as an absolute figure or as a percentage. So this will just take another couple of seconds to generate. So we've got a report here, and we've got our various sales headings, we've got our cost headings, and then we've got our actual forecast and our variance. So again, we've got our variance reports here. So we can do that for balance sheet, for our overheads, sales, and do it by department and by division. So if we go into our charts, so our charts are effectively our dashboards. And the system comes with a couple of predefined types of dashboards. So we've got a revenue one, and we've got a management dashboard as well. And then on top of that, we have the ability to go in and create custom dashboards, what we can do with the custom dashboards is to take elements of all the dashboards and put them into one dashboard for maybe a particular person who has particular requirements. So if I go into my revenue dashboards, and again, what we'll get within our revenue dashboards is a series of portlets giving us different types of information in relation to revenue. At the top here we have, and these are defined based on the revenue stream also. So at the top here we've got just an overall value, and then within that we've got dashboards for annual revenues, stock value by division. We've got the gross margin by product. If I click on just one, it'll just highlight that individual one. We've contribution by product as well. What we can do is right click and change the type of report that we're seeing, or the type of graph that we're seeing within this, and we can change themes and so on and so forth. So if we could go back up to the top, we've got our a pie chart of our products, and we can look at the details of each individual one if we like. We can click on these individual ones to give us a drill down into the values that underlie them. So if I go to the next set of dashboards, which are the management dashboards, which are more focused around the financial area of the business. So if I go to this one, and again, we have a range of different types of dashboards that we can look at. So if I go to just the top line one, and again, this is going to give us some top line information, so some top line KPIs for the business. So we have the likes of the monthly break even, cash cover, average employee numbers, weighted average cost of capital, earnings per share. So it's basically an overview of the business as a whole. We can go into cash flow, and again, we will get an overview of the cash flow of the business. So just take a second for this to generate. So we've got the annual net cash flow of the business, operating cash flow, annual net sales, free cash flow. So it gives you a good overview of the business. So it's snapshots of what's happening. So in a lot of occasions, people don't want to see the detail that's behind it, and it's easier to represent that information using dashboards and graphs. And that brings me to the custom dashboards. So if I go into my custom dashboards, what I'm able to do here is to create a new dashboard. So to ignore what is in the default ones, and we go into our charts, and we can pick and choose from all the dashboards that are within the revenue and financial dashboards, and we can add them in to our custom dashboard. And it's possible actually to create additional dashboards as well. We can decide on the format of the dashboard, the shape of the dashboard, what we see, the design, the type of chart that we're looking at. So we can introduce all these into it. And then we can decide who we want to, who this dashboard should be available to. And then it can be saved and exported and sent to individuals, or an individual can log in and have a look at it when they have the time to do so. It also should be pointed out here that we can report based on a consolidated basis. So if you're in a situation where you have multiple companies within Sage 200 and you need to consolidate the information within your forecasts and consolidate the actuals as well, it's possible to do that through ProForecast also. So that takes me to the end of the presentation. I hope it gives you a taster for what ProForecast can do. Today we looked at the setup, what if analysis, and the reporting capabilities of the product. So thank you all for joining me this afternoon, and I'll hand you back to Amy. Thank you.
Brilliant, thanks Brian. Brilliant, that was a great overview. If only we could apply a what if scenario on Brexit, wouldn't that be great now? Nice Christmas present. I suppose just to recap on some of the benefits of ProForecast, as we've seen from Brian showing us the presentation, it looks easy to use. I like the intuitive kind of looking dashboards, and I suppose having data where you can drill down into a greater level of granularity as well. It definitely will save you time in terms of adapting a ProForecast solution, and I suppose having one single source of truth on a web-based platform, allowing it to be accessed anywhere on any device is definitely a pro. So that's it from us. We're right on time, so I hope you found it a worthwhile 30 minutes of your time. As I said earlier, the session has been recorded and we will be sending it out to all the participants by email. There hasn't been any questions, so if you do have any questions after the session once we've finished, just email sales@envisagecloud and we'll be happy to send you any further information. And then you can also propose some additional webinar topics for next year when we've had our nice well-earned break and got a chance to relax over the Christmas. So email Martin with any suggestions, because we would love to hear from you. And that's it from us. I hope you all have a lovely break, and we'll chat to you in the new year. Thanks, Brian. Bye.
Thanks, Amy. Bye all. Bye-bye.